Hello everyone. I welcome you all to this session, and today we shall discuss about food purchasing control. Introduction. A purchasing policy should be drawn up considering the use to which the food is put to and also the advantages and disadvantages of each variety of the item required. The purchase policy depends on the menu of the outlet and the food standards to be maintained. Objectives. In this episode, the following aspects of food purchasing control will be discussed: purchasing policy, types of food purchased, quality purchasing, fixing of standards, purchasing methods. First, we will look into the first objective, purchasing policy. A good purchasing policy will benefit food and beverages sales, but bad purchasing policy will lead to customer dissatisfaction and ultimately in the loss of business. Though economy has to be paid attention to in all food purchases, the lowest price is not always the best buy. The purchasing policy helps to procure the raw materials for the menu, fix the quality of the food to be served, fix the amount to be paid by the customer. The purpose of establishing a proper purchasing procedure is to ensure a continuing supply of sufficient quantities of foods of the quality appropriate to the intended use and purchased at the most favorable price. Implementation of procedures for purchasing controls prevents excessive costs due to over purchasing, leading to spoilage, wastage and increased risk of pilferage. With regards to the purchases of food, the staff must have the qualifications required to make the right decisions. Knowledge of all the food raw material to differentiate the grades and varieties. They should be familiar with the methods of processing, grading and packaging of fresh, canned, frozen and dehydrated meats, vegetables, fruits, groceries, etc. They should be well versed with seasonal availability of fruits, vegetables, seafood, etc. The staff must be aware of the menu requirement and be able to select the types of food best suited to the needs of the food production and food service departments. In smaller establishments, the chef would be responsible for the purchasing of raw material required for the preparation for sales for the day. In larger organizations, the purchase manager from the purchase department assisted by his staff are assigned the job of looking after the requirements of all the departments. The duties of the purchase department staff are: the most important duty is to ensure continuity of supply of the raw materials for all the departments in the organization, particularly the kitchen and food selling outlets. The purchase department is responsible for the operation of the goods receiving department and the stores department. Finding cheaper and better sources of supply and new substitute materials for the efficiency of supply, reduction in cost and reduced labor cost in the kitchen. In maintaining the stock levels of all items and at the same time not to overstock the items. To communicate and negotiate with suppliers. Let us now move on to the next objective, that is types of food purchased. The food to be purchased for any operation are divided into two categories, perishables and non-perishables. Any fresh food that have a short useful life after they have been received are perishables. Perishables are purchased for immediate use. Non-perishables are the items which have a longer shelf life, often referred to as groceries or staples, they are stored in containers in their appointed bins, that is, the storage places allocated, at room temperature for weeks or even months. These items do not deteriorate so long as they are kept in sealed containers and under proper storage conditions. Let us now move on to the third aspect, quality purchasing. For a kitchen to produce finished products of consistent quality, raw materials of consistent quality have to be procured. Careful planning will result in the formation of the most suitable specifications for raw food to be purchased, which will be converted to finished products to be sold in the restaurant. If the specifications are set or adhered to, then menu planning and cost control can be achieved and the target profit can be achieved. Poor grade raw materials will result in extra labor, more wastage, and lesser quantity output, and finally inaccurate costing, which would lead to the disproportionate selling price leading to loss. The most effective method to achieve quality in purchasing is by describing the specifications of every item to be purchased by listing in detail those specific and distinctive characteristics that will best describe the desired quality of each item. Through these specifications, the buying standard is fixed, which the supplier should comply with. When the goods are delivered, the written specifications serve as a check that the delivery is exactly as ordered. These carefully written descriptions of every item to be purchased is known as standard purchase specifications. It is defined as the concise description of the quality, size and weight or count of any item. Once the specification is fixed for all the items to be utilized, the uses are: it helps in competitive bidding and for settling the prices of every item. The suppliers clearly know what has to be delivered. Detailed description is not required every time order is placed. For receiving the items, the specifications make it easy to check the goods when delivered. In cooking, the standard purchase specification helps in fixing the quantity to be served for every order placed and the food cost, portion size and the selling price to be fixed. The performance of the departments can be assessed as the quantity of raw material ordered gives the number of portions to be prepared and the amount to be earned by way of sales. Let us now move on to the fourth aspect, fixing of standards. Coming to definition of standards. Standards may be defined as rules or measures established for making comparisons and judgments. In business, these standards are set to judge the extent to which the results meet the expectations. Based on tests conducted in the kitchen, the following standards are arrived at. Standard yield. The edible quantity of food item obtained from any raw material after pre-preparation and cooking is termed yield. The standard yield calculation is generally for expensive foods, meat, fish and poultry. The yield helps to arrive at the quantity to be served. From this, the cost of any food prepared is calculated, which in turn helps to fix the selling price of the food to be served. From the standard yield, the standard purchase specification is arrived at for every food item. These specifications are in detail and serve the purpose of fixing other standards like standard recipe, standard portion size, standard portion cost. All these combined helps in measuring the performance of the food department. Standard recipe. In the food industry, the most important factors are the quality and uniformity of food. To ensure These, a definite recipe or formula is to be established for each dish and adhered to every time this particular food item is made. The recipe lists all ingredients and the quantities to be used and the procedures to be followed every time a particular item is produced. This ensures consistency in taste, appearance and acceptance. Every time an item is prepared from the similar quality ingredients in the specified quantities and correct preparation procedures are followed, then identical products are produced. The quantity of raw materials to be ordered can be arrived at as the number of people to be served is also known. The most important aspect is that the recipes can be costed and the selling price arrived at and the profit fixed. Every time that product is made, the profit fixed can be expected. The standard recipe helps in menu planning as the ingredients along with the quantities in every food item is specified. The nutritional value of the food item can be calculated as the quality and quantity of every item used is predetermined. Ordering for the right quantities of raw materials is possible as the measurements and quantities are known. Standard portion. This is the most important part of any food business. It is the quantity of any item to be served each time that particular item is ordered. It is the fixed quantity of any prepared item that is served to customer in return for a fixed selling price. Therefore, the profit remains the same every time a particular item is prepared. This eliminates erratic costs as the quantity served does not change every time it is prepared, resulting in predictable performance and profit. To assist in maintaining standard portion of every item prepared, equipment is specified for different usage. The most commonly used equipment for portion control are standard recipe charts, measuring jugs, weighing scales, ladles, scoops, standard sized cups, glasses, soup bowls. Strict adherence to the standards fixed can help in achieving the desired results. Standard cost. It is useful in measuring the effectiveness of an operation. It is possible to compare standard costs with actual costs in order to determine how effectively food and beverage materials are being used in a business operation, by which the performance of the food and beverage department's production and service can be assessed. Cost standards are necessary in cost control because it provides a means of comparing what we are doing with what we should be doing. Theoretically, if an outlet can forecast the number of portions for sale accurately, then it can predict costs with accuracy as the costs are fixed. This can lead to setting goals for performance under perfect conditions. Then the goals become standards. Practically, after the actual business transactions are closed, to review whether or not the goals have been met, comparing the actual performance with the standards set is possible. Analysis of the causes for failure to meet the standards will help to make appropriate changes in the operating procedures such that the performance in the future could be in accordance to the standards set. This exercise is to achieve the standard profit and satisfaction of the customers. After establishing the standard purchase specifications, the specifications buying involves appropriate purchasing procedures for which a systematic study is conducted in the following areas. Market. Details of the market information along with the prices of items ensures that prices paid to the suppliers are competitive and that a continuity of supply is always maintained. Cost. After all the standards are fixed, maintaining costs helps in fixing the selling price and achieve the target profit. The different stages in the purchasing procedures are determining the sources of supply and the price to be paid, entering into a contract with the supplier selected, acceptance of the goods ordered and the transfer to the food store. In general, a contract covers the following important aspects of purchasing suitable to both the parties, buyer and the supplier. Period of the contract will be fixed. The prices of items for that fixed period of contract will not fluctuate according to the market but will be a constant till the contract expires. Purchase specifications of every item is provided. When the goods are delivered, any item not in accordance with the purchase specifications can be rejected by the hotel. Right to purchase from the market if the supplier fails to get the item requested. The excess cost will be indemnified, that is, recovered from the supplier. Calculated amount of money to be deposited by the supplier as indemnity and security against irregular deliveries. Let us now move on to the last aspect, purchasing methods. The policy adopted by an establishment will depend on the size, type and functioning of the organization and also the quantities to be purchased and also the type of commodities. Among the different types of purchasing methods, the most suitable methods for the food service industry are contract purchasing, that is, food items required for delivery on a daily basis are purchased under a formal contract. This is the most commonly adopted method of purchasing in the food industry. The establishment advertises calling for tenders for the supply of the mentioned items. Suppliers willing to enter into a contract for the supply of all or certain items for a contracted price purchase the tender form to enter into the competition. The advantages of purchasing by contract are: the hotel has a continuity of supply of all the items. Because the prices are fixed for the contract period, accurate selling prices can be arrived at lasting for that period, resulting in forecasting the profit. In general, a contract covers the following important aspects of purchasing suitable to both the parties, buyer and the supplier. Period of the contract will be fixed. The prices of items for that fixed period of contract will not fluctuate according to the market but will be a constant till the contract expires. Purchase specifications of every item is provided. When the goods are delivered, any item not in accordance with the purchase specifications can be rejected by the hotel. Right to purchase from the market if the supplier fails to get the item requested. The excess cost will be indemnified, that is, recovered from the supplier. Bill to accompany the items supplied. Supplier to be informed about the mode of payment and the interval of payment after the delivery of items. Calculated amount of money to be deposited by the supplier as security against irregular deliveries and also as indemnity against damage or loss. Standing order purchasing. Hotels enter into a contract with the suppliers for certain commodities required on a daily basis. The goods delivery may be once or twice in a day, for which the time of delivery and also quantities to be supplied are specified. This is for the period of the contract. After signing the contract, the hotel does not contact the supplier for the daily requirement of these items. This agreement is entered into for highly perishable items like milk, cream and bakery items supplied on a daily basis more than one time in a day. The supplier is contacted only when the requirement of these highly perishable items are more than the daily agreed quantity. Document used in purchase department. Purchase order form. It is the general practice to issue written purchase order forms for items selected to be delivered in the future. The department requisitioning the items fills up the purchase order form and sends to the purchase department. In accordance to sound accounting principles, purchase order form is issued for every purchase made. The essential details of a purchase order form are serial number, date, supplier's name and address, description of goods ordered, unit of packaging, unit price, total amount, signature of authorized person. Copies of the purchase order forms are sent to the following departments: receiving department, accounts departments or the controls department, kitchen or the department for which the supplies are ordered. On delivery of items by the supplier, the quality and quantity of the goods are checked in the receiving department. The purchase order is compared with the delivery note, which is the document accompanying goods sent by the supplier. After receiving the items, the delivery note is sent to the accounts department by the receiving department staff to be compared with the bills sent by the supplier to receive the payment later as per the contract terms. It's now time to wrap up this session, so let us conclude by saying, for the success of the food and beverage unit, a well-programmed purchasing policy must be drawn up. Purchasing is the first stage of the operation and the effect is felt all through the controls cycle: purchasing, receiving, storing and issuing, production and sales, and ultimately the profit of the operation. Thank you.